as in only the way Corey Perry can, not far off as angry as McDavid when we saw him last year in the Amazon dock.
Well, they dug in from that point on, that's for sure. I lost count of the amount of Craig Simpson oh-mans as that game wore on. That's how wild Game 4 was in Florida.
Epic. It's been an epic series, 3 out of 4 in overtime, 1 stinker of a game, and it's just fantastic hockey. No sweeps this year in the playoffs. You know, we already knew that. No sweeps, 7 series that will end in 5 games, and now we're either going to get 5 6s and 3 7s or 4 and 4. That's the way we're gonna finish up. And also, we're going to have a chance at most goals in the third periods of any playoff year ever. They're getting close to the record.
There's been some incredible finishes all playoff long, and the exclamation point has been 3 of the 4 games in this Stanley Cup final here. So the Calvin Pickard, Stuart Skinner dynamic, it was almost symbolic, during warm-up when Pickard comes over to Skinner's defense with Vanacek in his space there during warm-ups. And as he was saying to Gene Principe in the post-game, I just asked him if he wanted to come stretch near where I was. And in a way, it's Pickard that comes to Skinner's defense after it wasn't his fault that they were down 3-0 after the first, but taking over from the second period onward and was dynamite. As you say, 7-0 now in the playoffs. And talk about the ultimate journeyman. Like his whole career has been this, like just trying to find a role somewhere for an extended period of time. And now, you've got to think it's his net in Game 5. Oh, yeah. I know here we were sitting after Game 3 going, you go back to Skinner, but I think you're going with Pickard now, heading back home 2-2, aren't you?
Yeah, you have to. You have to go back with Pickard now. He's your guy. One of my buddies texted me tonight. He said, you mentioned you have a Conn Smythe vote. What if Pickard goes 9-0 or 9-1? Don't you have to give him the Conn Smythe? And I was like, maybe he gets a vote, but I don't think he's getting the Conn Smythe. I understand why my buddy said that, but I'm not sure that if a goalie plays half your playoff games, or actually it'll even be less, he'll get more than half your playoff wins potentially. But if he plays only half your games, I don't know that you can do that. But I thought it was an interesting question. That the Conn Smythe vote kind of has been ripped open a little bit. Draisaitl 4 overtime playoff winners, McDavid being McDavid. The one thing that would concern me if I was Florida is that McDavid on the road in the Stanley Cup final, he hasn't. I know what you're going to say. You're going to say Game 5 last year when he had a big game, but like a massive moment in a major time. He had a puck that went over his stick in overtime tonight. Draisaitl set him up, and it hopped over his stick. And I watched him go to the bench after that, and you could see he was so frustrated. That would just terrify me if I was the Panthers, that just as Barkov hadn't made his imprint on this series yet, McDavid on the road in Florida, you're just like, sooner or later he's going to have a massive moment at a big time. What a series, though. Like, just great hockey, Kyle, and karma points for the Oilers. So I was at the skate on Wednesday, the mystery skate, and there was a young boy who came up to me. His name is Owen. I believe he was from Halifax, but he and his mother, Amanda, were down in Florida, and they happened to walk by the restaurant the Oilers were having dinner at on Tuesday night. And Paul Coffey saw them, and he invited them in to spend a little bit of time around the team. And this guy was about 10 years old. I think the father is still in Halifax. I think he's like a commercial lobster fisherman or something like that. So the wife and the son were down at the games, and Owen's about 10 years old. And so Paul Coffey, and I asked Paul Coffey about, they told me about it, and I asked Paul Coffey about a post game, and I said, is this true? And he said, yes, it's true. And he actually said that it reminded him of when he was a player, that sometimes the Oilers, like Gretzky and Lowe and Messier and all those guys, they would see a young kid in Edmonton around the team, like a young Oiler fan, and they would do things like that. And he said it brought him back to a time when he was a player, and that kind of thing would happen. And so he not only did he get them to eat with them a little bit, he gave them access to the practice on Wednesday. And they were obviously both so excited. And, I think those are karma points. It's you do things like that, you get good karma.
That's incredible. Like, you met the story now that you've got for 10-year-old Owen now the rest of his life. That's unbelievable. So cool.
Really nice.
So cool.
Really nice.
That's a good one. Hey, I also wanted to bring up too, it was a bit of a tough game 3 for Darnell Nurse, but it really felt like, okay, game on when his goal comes to make it 3-2. Had an assist as well. Notice the other day we were talking about this. No beard this year in the playoffs. And I wanted, because I was thinking, I can remember him last year. He had it in years past. He had the beard. Your boots on the ground, you asked him about it the other day. What did he say?
He said last year after last year have to change up some things. So he went with no beard because of last year's playoffs. Didn't like some of his struggles, didn't like some of the numbers. Said I had to change it up a little bit. I was like, Kyle, you're on the ball here. You notice stuff. How come you're not here? We could use you. No.
Well, that's what you're there for.
That's right. I have to work now because you're not here. Like, I actually have to do things. No, you were bang on. Nurse said he had to change it up because he didn't like the way last year's playoffs finished. So the other thing too about his goal, Kyle, was it was like one of those goals that, like, Patrick Kane, or remember Riley Smith, the one game that Vegas beat Edmonton, they were the only guys in the building who knew it was in. Like, I didn't see it go in initially, but everybody continued to play, and it was a couple seconds until the goal light went on. Like, he went to go celebrate with whoever else was playing the point, who passed it to him, and nobody else realized it was in, except probably Bobrovsky. That was one of those goals